Kim, what's on your radar?
Where has Houdini impersonator Gavin Newsom been? Well, it's hard to believe, but only 2 months after surviving a recall election, Gavin Newsom's mysterious behavior and subsequent comments have once again sparked controversy over the California governor's mandates and pandemic response. And it starts with his unexplained disappearance for 10 days. The camera-loving governor abruptly canceled an important UN climate change conference trip to Scotland and went dark from public view with no real explanation for nearly 2 weeks. California is committed to being the leader in combating climate change, so canceling a trip like this is a big deal. Now, Newsom's last public appearance was October 27th when he was seen receiving his Moderna COVID-19 booster shot. He had previously received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but wanted to mix and match to show the public it was safe. Then he disappeared. 3 days later, the Associated Press reported Newsom had abruptly canceled his scheduled trip to Glasgow due to quote-unquote family obligations, but would attend the conference virtually via Zoom. Newsom reportedly asked the lieutenant governor to attend in his place. When interviewed by the Associated Press, the lieutenant governor said she had a sense she would be asked to go after speaking to the governor that Thursday. Well, it turns out he didn't attend the climate event via Zoom. He completely disappeared. He even missed making the announcement that vaccines for kids 5 to 11 were authorized by the FDA and CDC, an announcement completely out of character for him to miss. When concerned citizens began asking about Gavin Newsom's whereabouts, his staff continued to assert that he was attending to family obligations and had been working from the Capitol. Even the New York Times and Politico began asking questions. Where was Gavin Newsom? This was unlike him to disappear from public view. People on Twitter began putting 2 and 2 together and speculated that because the governor had not been spotted since he received his vaccine booster, he must be experiencing some sort of side effect. It's well known that many people who receive the vaccine often experience illness. It's why paid time off is even part of Biden's vaccine mandate plan. But that illness usually lasts a day or 2, maybe 3. Newsom had been gone for 10. People began to speculate, and there were even some uncorroborated reports from people who claimed to be close to the governor that Gavin Newsom was experiencing one of the more known severe side effects, namely Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, GBS is rare, but documented as a possible COVID vaccine-induced side effect. It can cause pain in the nerves, numbness, and paralysis. Some people who experience this syndrome can present like they're drunk, stumbling when they walk and slurring when they speak. And depending on how severe the symptoms are, they could subside within days or even years or months or years. But if, and it's a big if, big speculative if that is, that Gavin Newsom was in fact suffering from side effects to this nature, you can understand why appearing in public might be problematic. But appear he did. Finally, on Monday, photographs surfaced of the governor attending a big, fancy, expensive wedding on November 6th that was featured in Vogue magazine. That's right, 10 days after disappearing with no real explanation, Gavin Newsom was hobnobbing with the extremely wealthy Getty family at a wedding Nancy Pelosi officiated. Now, there are only photographs of Gavin Newsom at the ceremony itself, not the celebrations surrounding the wedding, and he was, to his credit, wearing a mask. But the showcasing of people of extreme wealth and power, such as the Gettys and Nancy Pelosi, not wearing masks while they party when school children are required to mask while they learn, set off a barrage of criticism of double standards. Ironically, the fancy wedding landed on the 1-year anniversary of Gavin Newsom dining at the French Laundry. He mandates we little people suffer while he and his friends once again get a fancy pass. Then finally, yesterday, Gavin Newsom made a public work appearance. He sat down for an interview at the 2021 California Economic Summit. He looked and sounded fine, but with all the rumors circulating, the interviewer wanted to address the elephant in the room. What was Gavin Newsom for Halloween? We knew what the real question really was, and Gavin Newsom explained that his disappearance was because his kids begged him to spend Halloween with his family.
And I signed up to go to Europe, and I was ready to go, and I had that dinner. A lot of you know this dinner with the family. And the kids, literally, they kind of had an intervention. They said they couldn't believe that I was going to miss Halloween. And we got a 5-year-old, the oldest is 12, 4 young kids. And I'm defending myself. You know, I got to go, honey, this and that. And my wife was going to go as well. And, you know, mom and dad missing Halloween. For them, it's, you know, like worse than Christmas, missing Christmas. And I woke up that next morning with something that's probably familiar to a lot of parents, that knot in your stomach. that I had no damn choice. I had to cancel that trip. And I appreciate it.
So never mind the fact that Halloween is one day and the climate conference began on October 31st and is ongoing until the 12th of November. He maybe could have shown up a day late. And also the soccer tournament, Boo Fest, that he mentioned as one of his excuses was only Halloween weekend. But notice he didn't deny any of the speculations regarding his health or side effects, and he didn't give reasons as to why he couldn't make a Zoom appearance at the UN climate conference. He also didn't mention his attendance at the fancy wedding. There were a couple of things he did mention, however, that upset people even further. California has been the most locked down state with the toughest COVID restrictions, and the reasons Gavin Newsom has given for destroying people's businesses, keeping kids out of school, and mandating vaccines has been to control the spread of the virus. But during this interview, Gavin Newsom admitted the virus is seasonal.
This is hard for me to say because it makes you even more unpopular than I am in many camps. Last year at this time, we all were bemused and confused when we saw a few states starting to see an increase in COVID. It's as if we learned nothing in the last year. The coverage of Colorado, somewhat inexplicable, they say. We really don't know why they're seeing an increase in Vermont and New Hampshire, why the Northeast is experiencing an increase. California is now experiencing an increase. Well, we know why. There's a seasonality to COVID. It's not particularly difficult after a couple of years to understand. You see those trends in Europe. You see those trends extend in other parts of the globe. Unfortunately, that's what's happening here in your state.
Now, Florida, which has some of the most lax COVID policies, now has one of the lowest case rates in the country, while California is twice that of Florida's and climbing. Yet our mandates and restrictions continue. Later in the discussion, Newsom also said something really upsetting. Now, remember, California locked down first and locked down the longest, and this caused many businesses to go under, especially in the hospitality industry. Property owners begged the state for relief and begged the governor to allow them to open up for business. Those pleas fell on deaf ears. But listen here to what Gavin Newsom said yesterday.
We put $6 billion, $5.8 billion for HomeKey. Some of you may know a little bit about HomeKey. We started buying hotels and motels last year. Seemed an opportunistic time to do it in the midst of the pandemic. A lot were vacant. A lot of people were desperate. A lot of small business owners that were very happy that someone was going to come in and purchase those assets. We were able to purchase 6,000 units in 5.5 months.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity to buy those properties up for cheap because people were desperate. That's right. His policies made them desperate. Gavin Newsom is up for re-election in 2022, and he might have survived the recall, but people like me are still pissed about his pandemic response. Californians are pissed at him for disappearing after receiving a booster dose while still mandating that school children get the vaccine. They're pissed he mandates that children wear masks while his rich friends hobnob maskless at a $1 million wedding inside of San Francisco City Hall. People are pissed he's continuing to promote strict COVID policies while admitting the reason Florida is doing fine and California's rates are climbing has nothing to do with policy, but the weather. And people are pissed he's boasting about getting rock bottom pricing on property that his pandemic policies wiped out. All California voters have to do is look to Virginia. Pick a Republican candidate like Youngkin, and Gavin is out of a job. But hey, look at the bright side. He won't need to cancel appearances at important climate conferences to spend time hobnobbing with wealthy old oil families. He won't need to apologize for dining at expensive restaurants with lobbyists, nor for disappearing for days on end. Instead, he'll have all the time in the world. So, you know what? We're mad. I'm in California right now. We're mad. We're mad at Gavin Newsom, and I think he should be very afraid come next year when he is up for legitimate re-election. And Californians especially are mad about what's going on with children, with masking of kids, with kids now being, with California proudly announcing that kids are going to be mandated to get the vaccine in order to go to school. People are mad. I don't know if Gavin Newsom's going to survive.
I don't understand how practically you can mandate masks for vaccines for school children when, like, even, I mean, the percentage of parents who are absolutely comfortable who want to be first in line to vaccinate their children. It's only like, maybe in California it's higher, but it's still like not going to be higher than 50%, I don't think. So it's going to be, it seems not feasible to me to have that requirement. Anyway, I share your frustration. I'm a non-Californian, but I share your frustration, Kim. I'm mad at you from the other side of the country. I'm mad.
And there's also something twisted about using your kids to get out of professional obligations. It's not
right.
You shouldn't do it. And you make a very good point. Okay, did the kids say, we're upset that you're not going to be for Halloween? Probably. I doubt he made that up. But like you said, he could have left the day after Halloween. The conference was still going, and so
it's still going. It's still going for another couple of days.
Right. He could go right now.
Yeah.
If he wanted to, and in fact, clearly he's healthy enough that he could go at this point. I don't know what the issue was for that 10 days, but to say that it was your children is just it's just too cynical.
Maybe he was hiking in the Appalachians.
But does the Republican Party of California...
People can Google that one who don't remember that one. Yeah.
Does the Republican Party of California have enough discipline to put forth a Youngkin-style candidate rather than a Larry Elder-type candidate?
Maybe, right? California would just need to put up kind of an Arnold Schwarzenegger type, right? I mean, hate to point back at him, but that's what worked before. Somebody who can appeal to both sides for sure. Larry Elder obviously was just not a serious candidate to many Californians, and that was, I think, the biggest issue. But I think it's not wise of Gavin Newsom to not think how mad Californians actually are, to not really absorb that about the pandemic response, and then to go on there and to be like, oh yeah, we were able to buy up all of these distressed properties for cheap. I mean, that was outrageous to say that. These people suffered. They lost their businesses.
I mean, Glenn Youngkin himself, he'll be a one-term governor of Virginia. These are global elites that don't really have a home. It's not like he has some deep roots and he's connected to the culture of McLean, Virginia. He's worth $500 million. He could go fly out to California. He probably owns property out there already, and he could instead of a Youngkin-like candidate, then maybe they'll just nominate Youngkin himself.
And then he can still run for president in 2024.
Yeah, he can. And yes, he could remotely govern Virginia from Los Angeles or Sacramento or wherever they do that. Yeah, I just solved all the Republican Party's problems.
The Republican, not a Youngkin-like candidate, but Youngkin himself for all offices. Youngkin all the time. Anyway, we'll have more Rising right after this.